जना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजगतिरिष्टोत्तर सतत श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसे भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजगतिरिष्टोत्तर सतत श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, The Renunciation of Kardama Muni, Text number 13. Yetavati Yeva Shustrusha Etavatyeva Shustrusha Etavatyeva Shustrusha Karya Pitari Putrakaihi Karya Pitari Putrakaihi Karya Pitari Putrakaihi Badham Iti Anumanyeta Badham Ityanumanyeta Badham Ityanumanyeta Gauravena Guroho Vachaha. Gauravena Gurorvachaha. Gauravena Gurorvachaha. Etavatyeva Shushruषा Karyapitariputrakai Badham Mityanumanyeta Gauravena Gurorvachaha Etavatyeva Shushruषा Karyapitariputrakai Badham Mityanumanyeta Gauravena Gurorvachaha. Etavati, to this extent, eva, exactly, Shushtrusha, service, Karya, ought to be rendered, Pitari, to the father, Putrakaihi, by the sons, Badham iti, accepting yes sir, Anumanyeta, he should obey, Gauravena, with due deference, Guroho, of the Guru, Vachaha, commands. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying, yes, sir. Kindly repeat. Sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying, yes, sir. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Two words in this verse are very important. One word is Pitari and another word is Guroho. The son or disciple should accept the words of his spiritual master and father without hesitation. Whatever the father and the spiritual master order should be taken without argument. Yes, there should be no instance in which the disciple or the son says, this is not correct, I cannot carry it out. When he says that, he is fallen. The father and the spiritual master are on the same platform because a spiritual master is the second father. The higher classes are called Dvija, twice born. Whenever there is a question of birth, there must be a father. The first birth is made possible by the actual father, and the second birth is made possible by the spiritual master. Sometimes the father and the spiritual master may be the same man, and sometimes they are different men. In any case, the order of the father or the order of the spiritual master must be carried out without hesitation, with an immediate yes. There should be no argument. That is real service to the father and to the spiritual master. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur has stated that the order of the spiritual master is the life and soul of the disciples. As a man cannot separate his life from his body, a disciple cannot separate the order of the spiritual master from his life. If a disciple follows the instruction of the spiritual master in that way, he is sure to become perfect. This is confirmed in the Upanishads. The import of Vedic instruction is revealed automatically only to one who has implicit faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and in his spiritual master. One may be materially considered an illiterate man, but if he has faith in the spiritual master as well as in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the meaning of scriptural revelation is immediately manifested before him. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mokam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. So the principle of obedience is being brought out by Srila Prabhupada in the life of Kardama Muni, which is being mentioned by none other than Lord Brahma himself, who is the creator of this material world. He is mentioning here that Pitari Guror Vachaha Etavatyeva Shushusha Badamiti Karya Anumanyeta. He is saying, Brahma is saying, sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. What is that? Whatever is the command of the father or the spiritual master, with all due respect, without any hesitation, the disciple or the son must say, yes, sir, and he should carry out that instruction without any reservation. So this is the principle. And this principle, if one follows, then what is the result? The result, as Prabhupada is quoting from the Upanishads, that yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasya ite kathita hi arthaha prakasante hi mahatmanaha. A person who renders service to the father or to the spiritual master without any hesitation, without any reservation, with full faith, as much faith, parabhakti, as much faith as he has that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with that similar kind of faith, he executes the instruction of the spiritual master, then tasya ite katitaya arthaha prakasante mahatmanaha. Arthaha, all the imports of the Vedic literature, prakasante, will be revealed within his heart by the grace of the spiritual master and Krishna. So, this implicit faith in the Guru is actually the source of one's transcendental knowledge. Can we avoid sitting in the doorway, please? If people come, it will not look good. There is so much space. You can come in the front. Please come in the front. Please come. Vijay Raghav Prabhu, please come here. Can come here. Enough space is there. Thank you. So, this implicit faith of the disciple or the son in the spiritual master and in his own father is the cause of one's understanding the real meaning of the Vedic literature. Without unhesitating, unreserved obedience to the spiritual master, one cannot understand the real import of the Vedas. One may read the Vedic literature, one may become a big scholar, one may be very intelligent, all those qualifications may be there. But if one is not obedient to the instructions of the spiritual master, he cannot understand the Vedic literature. On the other hand, as Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, even if one is illiterate, if he has implicit faith in the Guru, then all the knowledge of the Vedic literature will be revealed within his heart. So this is a very important principle which was demonstrated because this principle is so important. It was demonstrated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Kardamumuni, personalities like Kardamumuni have already embodied it. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead feels this instruction, this principle of revelation of the Vedic knowledge is so important that he himself set the example for it. When Lord Ramachandra appeared in this world, which is several millions and billions of years ago, when Lord Rama descended, he came as the son of Dasharatha Maharaj. And Dasharatha Maharaj had 3 wives, Kausalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra. And Dasharatha Maharaj did not have any children. And hence he was worried that who will take care of the kingdom after my time. Dasharatha Maharaj was ruling over in such a dharmic way because he himself is a great pure devotee. So he was ruling with such proper dharmic principles that in his kingdom, which he was ruling over, which was known as Kosala, the kingdom of Kosala, with the capital as Ayodhya, there was hardly any disturbance to the citizens. There was no father who would say that my son has died before me. Always it would be the elderly people who would die, young people would not die. And there were the miseries due to excessive heat and cold did not exist. And there was not a single beggar, there was not a single person who would not give dana, charity in the kingdom. Everybody was dharmic because yatha raja tatha praja. Raja is very dharmic, citizens also become dharmic. If the Raja is a plunderer, what will happen? Citizens will say, if the Raja can plunder, why I cannot also rob and steal? It will become like that. So now because Dasharatha Maharaj was so dharmic, so the entire kingdom, all the citizens were very, very dharmic. Nobody was in need of money. Everybody was very opulent. There was no want in anybody's life. Everybody was very happy. But Dasharatha Maharaj was not happy because who would take care of the citizens after his time? So he consulted with the various rishis, the prominent rishis of his time, like Vasishtha Rishi and others. And they all advised him to conduct one yajna. And for that, they said he has to call one rishi by the name Rishya Shringa. So the rishi was called, the yajna was done, and after the yajna, the priests, whoever was conducting the yajna, they gave the yajna shishta, the payasa, to Dasharatha Maharaj and told him, you give this to your queens and you will have children. So Dasharatha Maharaj divided the kheer into 2 parts and one half he gave to Kausalya. And then the rest half he divided into 2 parts and whatever was there, that half he gave it to Kaikeyi. And the balance half that was there, he further divided into 2 parts. One part he gave to Sumitra. Then finally one part was left. Now what to do with this? he thought this also let Sumitra have, and he gave it to her. And so finally, in due course of time, Kausalya gave birth to Lord Rama. Bharata was given birth to by Kaikeyi, and Sumitra gave birth to Lakshmana and Shatrugna. So these were the great personalities who are none other than incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha, the Chaturvyuha expansions of Lord Krishna. So when these personalities grew up, when these four brothers grew up, Lord Rama was the eldest, and he was also, being the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was very, very dharmic and very established in the principles of truth, and all the principles of dharma were embodied by him. And the citizens also loved Rama a lot. So Lord Rama, he was not only honest and dharmic, he was also very powerful, because he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So all the citizens loved him, all the ministers, they respected him, and Dasharatha Maharaj also loved his son Lord Rama very much. So Dasharatha Maharaj considered that when Lord Rama and his three brothers, they had grown up, Dasharatha Maharaj thought, now I become old, it is time for me to retire. So I have to coronate Lord Rama. So he called all his ministers and consulted them, asking them, shall we coronate Lord Rama? And the ministers were all very happy, and they said, yes, Lord Rama is very, very popular. All the citizens they love him and they want him to become the king. So this is a very wonderful decision you have taken. So, Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai. So Dasharatha Maharaj immediately called all the rishis, sages, everybody, called all his ministers and made a big announcement all over Ayodhya that now Lord Rama is going to become the king. So there was a lot of festivity, the whole city was decorated, and everybody was extremely happy, singing, dancing, everywhere full of festivities. And so the rishis all got together, they fixed up a muhurta, an auspicious time during which the coronation could be conducted, and the date was fixed, and the date was drawing nearer and nearer. Countdown had begun. All arrangements were being done on a very grand scale, and everybody was looking forward. Yes, the day when Lord Rama is going to become the king. One day, the day previous to the coronation, Kaikeyi called Dasharatha Maharaj and she reminded him of one promise he had made to her. At one point of time, Dasharatha Maharaj was suffering from some disease, either whitlow or some skin disease or something like that, and he was in great pain. At that time, Kaikeyi had served him very nicely and cured his disease. So Dasharatha Maharaj had told Kaikeyi that, I want to give you something in return, you ask me something. And Kaikeyi had said, not now, I will ask for it later. She reminded Dasharatha Maharaj of this. Dasharatha Maharaj said, yes, I remember, please ask me, what do you want? And Kaikeyi said, my son Bharata should become the king and Lord Rama should go to the forest for so many years in exile. Dasharatha Maharaj was heartbroken, but he could not do anything. He had to keep his word. He had to keep his promise. So he called Lord Rama and told him, like this, your mother Kaikeyi, she is telling that you have to go to the forest and Bharata has to become the king. Now what was Lord Rama's response? Lord Rama could have told that, what is this, my dear father? Already announcement is made. All the people have come to know. The whole kingdom knows. All nearby neighboring kings, they also have come to know. And the invitation has gone to all the rishis, sages, everybody. The whole city is bedecked. Everybody is anticipating my coronation tomorrow. And now you are telling that I should not get coronated. What is this? Moreover, I am the eldest king. It's my rightful claim to ascend the throne. Just because you gave some promise to your wife, my stepmother, your second wife, why should I lose my right? Lord Rama could have put forth all these arguments. But what was Rama's response? Folded his hand and he said, yes, my dear father, I'll follow your order. Immediately, next day morning, he changed all his clothes, wore tree bark, and set out to the forest. So you see how Lord Rama also embodied this principle. Whatever his father ordered, he followed without questioning, without hesitation, without a reservation, without any complaint. He did not think, what to do, my old father, senile old man, some promise he went and made, because of that I have to give the kingdom and now go to the forest. None of those things. He exactly followed the instruction of his father. Not only that, when Lord Rama went to the forest, what happened? Bharata, who was not there when all this was happening, he had gone to some other place. He came back to Ayodhya. When he found out all that had transpired, he rejected his mother and he told, I'm going to bring back Lord Rama. Only he can rule the kingdom. And what happened? Because of separation from Lord Rama, Dasharatha also passed away. So then Bharata went to the forest, sought out Lord Rama, and he met Lord Rama and told him, father has passed away, he has expired. So now, father has gone, his whatever word he gave to Kaikeyi, that also gone with him. Forget it, you come back and you rule the kingdom. So Lord Rama could have taken that opportunity and come back. Oh, father has passed away. Now what is the value of his word? Some promise he gave when he was alive, now he is dead. What is the value of that? That's all gone with him. No. Lord Rama said, nothing doing. My father commanded me, that was the instruction he gave me, I cannot disobey him. So this is the example set forth by Lord Rama. That even at the cost of one's life, one must be ready to follow the instructions of the father and the spiritual master. However, this instruction also, like every other rule within the Vedic literature, has an exception. This is not an absolute instruction. So, in certain circumstances, the father can be rejected. The father's instruction can be rejected. What is that? There is an example of that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj's father Hiranyakashipu was an atheist. He had no faith in Krishna. He was not a devotee of Krishna. In fact, he considered Vishnu his enemy. And Hiranyakashipu wanted his son Prahlad Maharaj also to become the enemy of Vishnu, which Prahlad Maharaj did not agree to. Although his father tried in many ways to convince Prahlad Maharaj to consider Vishnu his enemy, Prahlad Maharaj refused to give up. He refused to follow the instruction of his father. Not only that, his own teachers, Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya, they were also berating Prahlad Maharaj that why you are a devotee of Vishnu, give it up, become like your father, worship your father. No avail. Prahlad Maharaj refused. Prahlad Maharaj refused to follow the instructions of his teachers. Prahlad Maharaj refused to follow the instruction of his father. And that is the example set by Prahlad Maharaj. That if your father or your spiritual master instructs you against the service of Lord Vishnu, then you can reject him. So, in the service of Krishna, one can reject one's own father and one's own spiritual master. We have the example of Bali Maharaj, who also rejected Shukracharya because Shukracharya forbade him from serving, from fulfilling the command of Vamanadeva. So like this, there are many examples in the Bhagavatam also which we can find, which tell us that this principle is also, it has to be followed with as long as one's superior is a devotee of Krishna. Only then it is applicable. So, this importance to the father which is given here, actually we have to understand why it is so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna, when he was ruling over Dwaraka, one of his friends, one of his classmates from his Gurukul, Sudama Brahmana, he came to visit Lord Krishna in Dwaraka. Sudama was in a very poverty-stricken condition. Although he was poverty-stricken, he never had any desire to acquire wealth. He was very self-satisfied and he was quite fixed up in self-realization. But his wife, seeing that her husband, Sudama, was not keeping proper health and he was wearing torn clothes, she felt unable to serve her husband nicely. There was not even enough food at home to cook. She was thinking, how will I serve my husband nicely if this is the state of affairs? So with great humility, she requested Sudama that you please go and meet Lord Krishna. He has become the king of Dwaraka. He is your classmate. And he is the supreme personality of Godhead who is very dear to his devotees. And you are a great devotee of Lord Krishna. So if you go to him, he will definitely help you. So in that mood, that to serve her husband nicely, the wife requested Sudama. Sudama was still not keen to go to Krishna to ask for all this. But he thought, anyway, if I go, I'll have darshan of Krishna. I'll get to meet him. I'll get to talk to him. So he thought, let me go. And so his wife immediately went to the neighbors, asked for some chipped rice. So she got about 4 palmfuls of chipped rice, tied it in an old dirty cloth, whatever they had in their home, and gave it to Sudama. And with that, Sudama set off for Dwaraka. And when he came to Dwaraka, he was easily able to access Krishna's palace because Krishna is Brahmanya Deva. He is the Lord of all the Brahmanas and the devotees. So, Sudama went through many fortifications of the Dwaraka fort. And then finally he reached the palace of Krishna and Rukmini. 16,000 palaces Krishna had. But Sudama went to the palace of Rukmini. And there, when Krishna saw Sudama coming, he immediately rose from his bedstead and personally caught hold of Sudama and made him sit on the bed. He washed his feet and then he worshipped him. All these things, when the servants of the palace they saw, they were astonished. So Krishna never treated anyone so warmly, holding his hand, embracing him, making him sit on his personal bedstead. Many Brahmanas would come, but Krishna would treat them all with respect, but then not like this. He was treating Sudama just like he would treat Balarama, embracing him, catching his hand, making him sit on the bed. These things he would never do with anyone, except Balarama. So they were surprised that, oh, this Brahmana is not an ordinary Brahmana. Looks like very poor and niggardly and he is all torn clothes and all that, but looks like he has some very close relationship with Krishna. So then Krishna started talking to Sudama. And when he started talking to Sudama, some few things which Lord Krishna said are very, very important. So Krishna said, Savai satkarmanam sakshat dvijater ihasambhavaha adyo anga yatrashramena yathaham jnanado guruhu. Krishna told Sudama, my dear friend, everyone should consider his father to be his first teacher, because by the mercy of one's father, one gets his body. So that means the duty of the father is to educate the children about Krishna, about the ultimate goal of life, to get out of this cycle of birth, death, disease and old age, and to go back to Godhead. And so every father who does that, naturally the son has to follow those instructions implicitly. And that is why so much importance is given to the father in the Vedic literature. The father is therefore the natural spiritual master. So you see, becoming a father does not mean one simply gives birth to children. That even cats and dogs are also doing. Animals are also doing. They are also giving birth to children. And they are taking care of their material welfare also. Simply giving birth to children and taking care of their material welfare is not enough to become human parents. Human parents means one has to educate the children about Krishna consciousness. Our next spiritual master, Krishna is saying, our next spiritual master is Yathaham Jnanado Guruhu, the Jnanada Guru. Now our next spiritual master is he who initiates us. into transcendental knowledge, and he is to be worshipped as much as I am. See this? Krishna is saying, the one who initiates one into transcendental knowledge is to be considered as good as Krishna. What we sing every day? Sakshad Haritvena. So, initiation as a formal ceremony, yajna, handing over the beads and all may be there. Real initiation is what? Real initiation is initiation into transcendental knowledge. That is why the definition of Diksha given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also is Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam. This is the definition of Diksha. To signify it, to give a acceptance, social acceptance, we may have a yajna ceremony, handing over of the beads, name changing, etc. But the real Diksha is what? The real Diksha is when the transcendental knowledge is revealed within our heart by the spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada, without fail, is the one who initiates transcendental knowledge in all our hearts. So he is the initiating spiritual master. And he is the one who is to be worshipped as good as Krishna. Sakshad Haritvena. Nobody else can take that position. We cannot say that Kanishtha can also become Diksha Guru. As long as we are following the 4 regulative principles, we are also as good as pure devotees. All these things will not work. The one who is initiating, who is revealing transcendental knowledge in our heart, is our initiating spiritual master, and that is Srila Prabhupada. And so, therefore, Prabhupada is to be considered the Diksha Guru, who is to be worshipped as much as Krishna. Sakshad Haritvena. And then Krishna told Sudama, Nanvartham Kovida Brahman Varnashramavatam Ye Maya Guruna Vacha Tarantya Anjo Bhavarnavam. So to one who has surrendered to the spiritual master, taking him as good as Krishna, a human being who takes advantage of these spiritual masters and receiving proper knowledge from them crosses the ocean of material existence. Taratyanjo Bhavarnam. Very easily he can cross over the ocean of material existence. And he is to be understood as having properly utilized this human form of life. And then Krishna says, this is very, very important, which is relevant to today's discussion. Naham ijya prajatibhyam tapasopasamena va tushyeyam sarvabhutatma guru shushrooshaya yatha. Krishna is telling, as the super soul of the living entities, sitting in everyone's heart, Sarvabhutatma, I observe everyone's activity in every stage and order of life. So, regardless of which stage one is in, one may be a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, one may be a Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, whatever it is. So, regardless of which stage one is in, when I see that one is engaged seriously and sincerely in discharging the duties ordered by the spiritual master and is thus dedicating his life to the service of the spiritual master, that person becomes most dear to me. These are Krishna's words. Tushyeyam Guru Shushrooshaya Yatha. So, we become most dear, not even dear. We become most dear to Krishna if we sincerely and seriously dedicate our life to the service of the spiritual master. So, this is very, very important. Seriously and sincerely dedicating our life to the spiritual master means, as Prabhupada is saying today in today's verse in the purport, Badham iti anumanyeta. With due respect, every command of the spiritual master should be accepted, saying, yes, sir. There is no instance where the disciple or the subordinate can question the order of the spiritual master, saying that, what are you saying? How can this be correct? This is not correct. One cannot say. This example of this is demonstrated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was on the South India pilgrimage, he came across one Brahmana who was holding the Bhagavad Gita upside down. And everybody else, all the other Brahmanas were looking at him and laughing. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired, he found out that this Brahmana was illiterate. And the illiterate Brahmana is holding the Bhagavad Gita. And so everybody was laughing at him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached this Brahmana and asked him, "Sir, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "I can see that, but why are you holding the book upside down?" He was actually holding it upside down. So the Brahmana replied, "Unfortunately, I cannot read. I'm an illiterate. But my spiritual master instructed me to read the Bhagavad Gita every day. So I keep the book in front of me and I simply keep turning the pages. At least that much I can do to follow the instruction of my spiritual master." So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "But I see that there are tears in your eyes. Why are you crying?" So the Brahmana replied, "Whenever I open the Bhagavad Gita, the vision that comes in front of me is that of Krishna driving the chariot of Arjuna." Who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are all His servants. We are all His amshas. So we should be rendering service to Krishna. Arjuna should be driving the chariot. And Krishna should be seated on the chariot. But look at Krishna. He has taken the reins of the chariot in his hand. And he is driving the chariot of Arjuna. How much love Krishna has for his devotees. When I think of this, I cannot control myself. And tears start flowing from my eyes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately embraced him. And he said, all these Brahmanas who are making fun of you, although they are big scholars, they have not understood the Bhagavad Gita. But you, although you are illiterate, you have understood the Bhagavad Gita. So how did this illiterate Brahmana get this realization? How was he able to understand the Bhagavad Gita so much so that when he would open the Bhagavad Gita, tears of love for Krishna would start flowing from his eyes? Because Guru Shushrooshaya Yatha, he followed the instruction of his spiritual master implicitly. When the Guru ordered him, the Brahmana could have thought, what is this Guru I have? He doesn't know that I am illiterate or what. He knows I am illiterate. How can I read Bhagavad Gita? He is giving me an instruction which I cannot follow. What kind of spiritual master I've got? He could have thought. But no, he thought, my Guru has given me an instruction, I have to follow it. I don't know to read and write what to do. So at least I can take the book and hold it in my hand. Let me do this much. Guru Shushrooshaya Yatha. He had implicit faith in his spiritual master. Not a single question. Badam miti. He said, yes sir, I will follow the instruction of my spiritual master. What instruction his spiritual master has given him? You tell me. Spiritual master knows that he is illiterate. And to an illiterate disciple, the spiritual master has told, read the Bhagavad Gita every day. So, externally if you look at it, spiritual master has given an impossible task to the disciple. But the disciple did not think like that. He followed the instruction of the spiritual master to the best possible of his ability. And what happened? The entire meaning of the Bhagavad Gita was revealed in the heart of that illiterate Brahmana. Because the spiritual master was pleased with his implicit faith in the spiritual master's instruction. So this is the secret of understanding the knowledge of the Vedic scriptures. Because no matter how big a scholar you are, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, the central point, the message, the essential message of the Bhagavad Gita that you have to understand when you complete reading the Bhagavad Gita is, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and everybody else is his servant. So, that illiterate Brahmana may not know any of the shlokas. He may not know what is there in the first chapter, second chapter, third chapter. He may not know any of those things. He may not even know how many shlokas are there or how many chapters are there in the Bhagavad Gita. Not required. He has understood the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because tasyete katitahya prakashante atma mahatmanaha arthaha prakashante mahatmanaha. The real meaning of the Vedic literature was revealed in his heart by the Paramatma, by the Guru, seeing his sincere and serious following of the instructions of the spiritual master. So the lesson that we all have to learn from this is that the obedience to our superiors is what actually pleases Krishna. So as a practical thing, what we have to follow is, in our life, whoever is our authority, whoever is our superior, we have to follow their instructions implicitly, with the caveat that as long as they are devotees of Krishna and Prabhupada and they are following their instructions, they are not disobedient to them, like Shukracharya, we can follow their instructions implicitly. And if we do that, although sometimes it may appear that the instructions given are impractical, the instructions given are incorrect, it may appear like that, but we follow the instructions with implicit faith that this is coming to me from my spiritual master Prabhupada through the system that, through the hierarchical system in the organization that he has set up. So if we have that implicit faith and we follow, then all the knowledge, all the meanings of Prabhupada's purports will be revealed in our hearts. If we have a rebellious attitude, why I should follow what he is saying, what I am telling he should follow, I am telling my superior that this is not correct, he is not listening to me, and we start questioning our whomever we are reporting to, then the knowledge of what Prabhupada is teaching us will not get revealed in our heart. So what we are following, whether the instruction is correct or incorrect, is not important. What is important is our service attitude. Krishna is pleased by our service attitude, not by whether we are correct or wrong. We may be wrong also, but if our attitude is correct, service attitude is correct, Krishna will be pleased by that. So that is the real thing, the real substance of devotional service. The real substance which makes bhakti work is the attitude of service, attitude of obedience. This is what makes the principle, the process of bhakti work to reveal transcendental knowledge in our heart. So without this principle, one cannot expect the transcendental knowledge to be revealed in our heart and transcendental realization to take place in our heart and to develop love for Krishna. It is not possible without being trained up sufficiently in the service attitude. And that is what this whole organization is meant for. Chanting 16 malas of Hare Krishna mantra, following the 4 regulative principles, observing Ekadashi, Janmashtami, all these things we can do anywhere in the world. You can do even at your home. Then why Prabhupada had to make this organization? Because there is the attitude of obedient service, which only that will actually make all these other things work to generate bhava in our heart. Otherwise, we can go on following millions of years. We may develop in Sattva Guna, we may elevate ourselves in Sattva Guna, we may go to Swargaloka, all those things may happen. But if one has to go back to Godhead, what actually pleases Krishna is the attitude of humble, obedient service. This is the crux of bhakti. So I'll stop here. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, we see in the case of Sukadeva Goswami.
Sukadeva Goswami.
Actually, it may be an extraordinary case, but still, even before his birth, he was twice born. So,
Yeah.
how to understand that even without spiritual master, initiation, he was twice born?
He was already liberated. He was fixed up in impersonalist realization. And as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayana vidyate. Whatever spiritual progress we make, that never gets destroyed. and we begin from the point where we left off. So, when a yogi, he progresses on the path of spiritual life, whether it is karma yogi, jnana yogi, dhyana yogi, or bhakti yogi, any of the yogis, whatever progress they make, it is to their eternal credit. Unlike papa and karma, which can be destroyed, papa and punya, which can be destroyed, sukriti cannot be destroyed. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami picked up from wherever he had left off in his previous life. Because we have to understand one thing, that spiritual life is not something which can be achieved in just one lifetime. It takes many, many lifetimes of following and gradually increasing, progressing in spiritual life to reach the stage of mukti or moksha. Except in the case of bhakti. Bhakti is the only process which can deliver you within this very lifetime. What within this lifetime, even within a few seconds, you can get liberated. So that is the power of bhakti. Bhakti does not wait for one's purification. Bhakti itself will purify. So, in the case of Shukadeva Goswami, he was already over past lifetimes, he had already progressed so much that he was already in a liberated condition. But yet, he had not come to the stage of bhakti. And so, therefore, he had to take birth. And he took birth where? He took birth as the son of Vyasadeva, not some ordinary person. So, as Krishna also tells in the Bhagavad Gita, that Shujinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Sanjayate. One who has not completed the path of yoga, if he has Chirakala, if he has practiced yoga for a very long time and he has still not completed the process, Prabhupada says that he will take birth in the Acharya Kulas. If you look at Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verses 41 to 44, Prabhupada explains this, that there are two kinds of yoga brashtas. One yogi who follows the path of yoga for a short time and he falls down. He goes to Swarga. And after spending many, many years there in luxury, he takes birth in some aristocratic family in this material world, on this earthly planet. On the other hand, the yogi who deviates from the path after a very, very long time of practice of yoga, he will take birth in Acharya Kulas, in the families of great pure devotees. So that's what happened with Shukadeva Goswami. He took birth in the family of Vyasadeva. Is that okay? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Like in some spiritual organizations, let us the so-called authority like deviates the teachings of spiritual master, how the followers can render seriously, sincerely service to the spiritual master.
So we have to follow the example of Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj. Reject them and take to the following of the bona fide people. So that's what we have to do. We cannot think that I will continue to remain there but I will not follow them. That's not possible. You see, we have to be very careful about this. It is said that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that when Kamsa started killing all the children who were born within 10 days of the birth of Krishna, many people went to Kamsa and tried to dissuade him that there's such a heinous, cruel act it is to kill small babies, just born babies, 10-day-old babies, how you can kill them? Many people went to him. But whoever went to Kamsa, they all became his worshippers. They all became devotees of Kamsa. So, association with people who have deviated, it can be very, very contaminating. Therefore, one should, if we think that I'll remain in their association, but I will not be contaminated by their thinking, very, very difficult. Best is to avoid such people. Sometimes our devotees also make that mistake. They think what is there, the other camp, they are also having nice kirtan, nice classes they are giving. So what is wrong in attending those classes? Very wonderful classes they are giving. I'll get to learn something. You'll get to learn something, but you'll also get contaminated by their spirit of disobedience of Prabhupada's instruction. Whatever doubts they have, those doubts they will sow into your heart. That the July 9 directive is not the real directive. There are so many discrepancies in that. How can it be followed forever? It was meant only for the time when Prabhupada was there. it is against tradition. So many arguments will come up. All those doubts will get sowed in our heart. So therefore, whoever has disobeyed Prabhupada's instructions, we have to keep away. We will not disrespect them, because Rupa Goswami says in the Upadeshamrita, Krishneti yasigiri tammanasadriyeta. One who is not very pakka, very proper in following the instructions of the spiritual master, but he is chanting Hare Krishna, Krishneti yasigiri tam manasadriyeta. In our mind, we respect them and we maintain distance. We don't go serve them, take their association, hear their classes. We don't do that. If some service-related something is there, that's a different issue. But otherwise, we don't do that. Otherwise, risk is we will also get similarly contaminated. Therefore, we have to be careful. There have been so many examples also like that. I have personally known devotees who have been very studious, very strict, very, intelligent, very analytically they studied Prabhupada's books. Such devotees who are very scholarly, almost like Panditas, those kind of devotees. Even such devotees reading other people's books, they have got swayed and they started doubting Prabhupada and left the movement. This has happened. So therefore we should not overestimate ourselves. We should not think that no, nothing will happen to me. I'll be very careful. You can never be careful enough. So therefore avoid. Simple thing. Why? We have already enough problems in our lives, following the 4 regulative principles and developing Krishna Prema. Where we are with respect to all this? Oh, such a long distance to go. So we have enough troubles already in our lives. Why we have to take one more risk of going and associating with people who do not have faith in Prabhupada's July 9 directive and then getting contaminated with that, all those doubts also. So remain, because Chaitanya Charitamrita also states, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it is stated, Sajati Ashaye. One should associate with devotees who are Sajati, who have similar kind of orientation towards Krishna and towards Guru. We should not associate with people who have different thinking or different understanding of Krishna's position and Prabhupada's position. We should not do that. If we do that, then what will happen? Our bhakti will not progress. We will start thinking like them. So this Sajati Ashe is a very important instruction. One has to associate with devotees of similar understanding. Therefore, we should stick to our group and we stick to our understanding and we will progress. Not necessary that there has to be very charismatic, oratorial people and only such people can forward preaching. Nothing like that. What actually makes preaching work is not one's oratorial ability. This is what the Upanishads are stating. Namedhaya nabhuna shrutena. Not by great intelligence, not by great oratorial skill, not by great scholarly knowledge of the Vedic literature does one realize the position of Krishna. What works is, as we are seeing, our dedication and our attachment to Prabhupada. If we take Prabhupada's instructions as our life and soul, then we'll make real progress in spiritual life. So, if you look at it that way, Prabhupada did not demonstrate that kind of oratorial skill. Prabhupada was very straightforward, very precise, and never showed off scholarliness. Although Prabhupada was a great scholar, seeing his scholarliness in Sanskrit only, he was given the title Bhakti Vedanta. He was so scholarly. But Prabhupada never showed it like that. Prabhupada always was seeing the standard of his disciples. Prabhupada always spoke in English and gave them the proper understanding of the Vedic scriptures. Prabhupada never displayed oratorial ability, Sanskrit scholarship, all these things Prabhupada never displayed like that. But reality is, Prabhupada was a very acclaimed scholar in Sanskrit. There is no doubt about that. But still, Prabhupada never displayed that. So we should not, somebody in today's ISKCON, if somebody is very scholarly, good. But that's not the real substance of progressing in spiritual life. The real substance is purity. Our purity in following Prabhupada's instructions implicitly without deviating even 1 millimeter. The danger of deviation is even 1 millimeter if we deviate, it will look like small deviation. Just like a plane takes off from Chennai to Delhi. There is a certain direction it has to go. Suppose when it takes off, 1 degree, it is away from the path which it is supposed to take to reach Delhi. When it is taking off, it is only 1 degree. Right? 1 degree is very small. What is there? Chalta hai. If the pilot thinks 1 degree deviation, no, chalta hai, no problem. What will happen? He will not land in Delhi. He will land up somewhere in Assam or somewhere he will land up somewhere totally different. So, therefore, similarly, when we follow Prabhupada's instructions, we have to be very, very cautious. 1 degree deviation may appear, only 1 degree, no, chalta hai. Nahi chalta hai. It will not work. So we have to implicitly, strictly, seriously follow Prabhupada's instructions, especially Prabhupada's instruction about Diksha Guru. Because Diksha Guru is the person who has to take us back to Godhead. And if you have accepted somebody else as your Diksha Guru in your heart and thinking that this person will take me back to Godhead, whole life will get spoiled. Because our philosophy is very clear. Sakshad Haritvena. Krishna himself is telling. Yatha aham. Janado Guruhu yatha aham. Krishna is telling. Not only here. Many other places. In the Uddhava Gita also Krishna says. The spiritual master has to be worshipped as good as me. Krishna says. So, when we accept somebody as a guru, naturally, with all these instructions, we treat that person as good as Krishna. And Krishna forbid, but if that person falls down, then you have really had it. What kind of emotional turmoil you have to go through? You have invested all your feelings of Sakshad Haritvena, you are seeing him, Yatha Deve Tatha Gurau Parabhakti, you have dedicated your life and soul to that person, and that person deviates. What will be your state? Even your faith in Krishna will get shaken. So therefore, we should not play around with the lives of devotees. We have a responsibility to keep the faith of the devotees intact. We have to act in such a way the faith of the devotees goes on increasing. Not shatter it, take it to one point and shatter it. That's not the way it is supposed to be done. We have to keep increasing the faith of the devotees. That's possible only when you accept an Uttamadhikari Vaishnava as your Diksha Guru. Otherwise, not possible. Diksha Guru is somebody who has to be part of the Guru Shishya Parampara. Part of the Guru Shishya Parampara means not like us. We are also part of the Guru Shishya Parampara. But not like the way we are part of the Guru Shishya Parampara. We are part of the Guru Shishya Parampara because Prabhupada is linking us to the Guru Shishya Parampara. So, Prabhupada himself is part of the Guru Shishya Parampara. He is sitting in that chain of Guru Shishya Parampara. And we are holding on to his lotus feet and we get connected there. So, that's the way our connection is. So, we cannot become Diksha Gurus. A Diksha Guru is a person who is part of the Guru Shishya Parampara. One who is in the list of 32 people named by Prabhupada in that Guru Shishya Parampara. We have to be part of that. Then we can act as Diksha Guru. Otherwise, no. So therefore, we should, these are all important things, principles which are inviolable. The moment we violate these things, we are inviting trouble, which is what we are seeing in the other ISKCON today. So much trouble, so many people falling down, and so many gurus coming up with so many newer and newer ideas. One guru in ISKCON, now his statement is, it is wrong to think that Prabhupada was right about everything. And you look at what today's Bhagavatam verse is saying, an exact violation of this principle. That Badham iti anumanyeta. Whatever spiritual master says, one has to accept it. Yes, sir, this is right. And Prabhupada is saying in the purport that, where is that? There should be, in any case, the order of the father or the order of the spiritual master must be carried out without hesitation, with an immediate yes. There should be no argument. You cannot even argue. No, I think differently. You cannot even argue. And here they are saying Prabhupada was wrong in many places. This is the conclusion of the gurus. So how can such people instill faith in Prabhupada, in their disciples? Their disciples will also develop a lack of faith in Prabhupada. So people point out many things. Like, Prabhupada also forgot so many slokas. Prabhupada, while repeating slokas, made mistakes. So Prabhupada was not perfect. That's not the reality. So spiritual master may externally make some mistakes, which is an opportunity for the disciple to execute service to the spiritual master. Prabhupada sometimes says, I forgot that verse. What is that verse? Pull out that verse. That's the service he is giving to that disciple. So it's an opportunity for the disciple to serve the spiritual master. Not that Prabhupada is forgetting, Prabhupada is imperfect. Imperfection cannot be there. But the Chaitanya Charitamrita very clearly states, Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, Karana, Patava, Nahi ye sab dosha, Arye, so Arshe. So in great personalities, in pure devotees like Prabhupada, there is no question of Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, no question. They are beyond all these things. So if Prabhupada is manifesting such a thing, it is for two things. One is giving service to the devotee, another is to test the faith of the devotee. So Krishna as Paramatma, see, Krishna also performed his Maushala Leela, his pastime of disappearance. So in his pastime of disappearance, we all know how the hunter shot the arrow at Krishna's lotus feet. And then Krishna later on, he disappeared. So why did Krishna do it like that? He could have disappeared just like that. Because that whole Maushala Leela, and also Krishna left behind a body which resembled him, to which the Antyakriya was also done. This also some people say. So why Krishna is to do this? Because it is to bewilder the atheists, to test the faith of the devotees. So the atheists will give this example and they'll tell, hey, Krishna is also died like every normal man. And a devotee hears that, his faith gets tested. So Krishna purposely tests the faith of the devotee. So Paramatma may apparently make Prabhupada forget something or make some mistake in repeating some shloka or something like that. That is to test the faith of the disciple. Actually, Prabhupada can make no mistake. You take the Siddhanta, you take this one, you take the last days of Prabhupada. What state Prabhupada was in? Prabhupada for months together had not had any food. He was not even drinking anything. And in that state also, Prabhupada is lying down and the whole body is completely emaciated. There is no strength in Prabhupada's body. And Prabhupada still in that state, Prabhupada is dictating the translations and the purports for the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Pakka consciousness. Not 1 millimeter Prabhupada's consciousness has gone down or up. You take 1944, when Prabhupada started writing for the Back to Godhead magazine. From there till November 14, 1977, you will see there is no change in the consciousness of Prabhupada. In our case, what happens is, initially, when we start reading Prabhupada's books, slowly we are learning so many things. So, initially, if we write some, let us say for our magazine or something like that, we write an article, it will have a certain understanding. 10 years later, when we look at it, we'll have a completely higher understanding. Isn't it? But you look at Prabhupada's words, 1944 to 1977. Absolutely the same consciousness, the same understanding, the same knowledge, the same words, the same approach. Because Prabhupada is totally on the transcendental platform, pure devotional platform. He is not like us, Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, Karana, Patava. that Prabhupada had to learn something and then become realized. Prabhupada was always self-realized. One reporter, he asked Prabhupada, what age did you become self-realized? Prabhupada replied, everybody can become self-realized. Something like that. No, I am asking at what age you became self-realized. Prabhupada said, it does not take long time to become self-realized. Just accept you're not the body, you become self-realized. No. I want to know when you became self-realized. So Prabhupada replied, you can also become self-realized. Now the reporter was also not giving up. No, I want to know at what physical age you became self-realized. Prabhupada replied, 4 years. This man got shocked. But what? He said, Prabhupada replied, 4 years. There is no point of time, I remember, when I had forgotten Krishna from the age of 4 years. Imagine that. Okay, Prabhupada said 4 years. It was not even 4 years. Prabhupada talks of the bubonic plague, which had struck Calcutta. You all know that, isn't it? It was a big disaster actually. People were dying on the streets. And Prabhupada was 6 months old at that time. This was in 1897. So Prabhupada was 6 months old. 6-month-old baby. So one Babaji had organized Sankirtan because of the plague. He wanted to alleviate the suffering of the people. So he organized door-to-door Sankirtan. So there were teams who were going door to door and inviting the people to engage in Sankirtan, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and singing and dancing. When they came to Prabhupada's house also. And when they started doing Sankirtan, the 6-month-old child, Prabhupada, when they started doing Sankirtan, Prabhupada held on to the dhoti of his father and he started jumping and dancing. Can you imagine 6-month-old baby, standing and dancing in the Sankirtan? How is it possible? That's because Prabhupada is pure devotee. He is a Nitya Siddha. He is not somebody who came here and who learned spirituality and then became self-realized. He was born self-realized. Nitya Siddha. And Prabhupada hints at that in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam also. Prabhupada talks about the difference between Nitya Siddhas and Sadhana Siddhas. Nitya Siddhas, from their childhood, they are attached to serving Krishna. And when it comes to Parikshit Maharaj, it is described in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Even from his childhood, he was always engaged, even in playing, he would play with deities of Radha and Krishna. So Prabhupada says this is the symptom of a Nitya Siddha. Similar to Uddhava also. Uddhava also Panchahayano. He was Pratarashaya Yachitaha, Matra Pratarashaya Yachitaha. 5 years old boy, Uddhava, he was morning, he was playing. What was he playing? He was playing, his play was serving Radha and Krishna, worship of Radha and Krishna. That was his play. And in the morning, Matra, by his mother called him, Uddhava, come, have your breakfast. Pratarashaya Yachita, come, have your breakfast. Night said, Uddhava did not want to go for breakfast. Why? Because he said, I don't want to give up my service to Krishna. So this is the symptom of a pure devotee. Right from childhood, they will be engaged in serving Krishna. They know nothing other than Krishna. And Prabhupada, in that purport to Parikshit Maharaj's childhood, where even in his childhood he was serving Radha and Krishna, Prabhupada says, even in our childhood also, means Prabhupada is referring to himself, even in our childhood also we got the opportunity to worship Radha and Krishna. So what it means is Prabhupada is a Nitya Siddha. So these are some of the things which we can, which we have to have firm faith in if we want to progress in spiritual life. So I'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.